Hey, welcome back, dickholes, to You're Dumb at Flash. How to Color Like a Winner, Volume 2. Oh boy, what I do to entertain you slobs. Eh, Anyway, in Volume 1 I went over my mediocre drawing skills and how to draw lines in Flash, and in Volume 2, You're Dumb at Flash, How to Color Like a Winner, like me, I'm going to be going over how I naturally color in Flash, and all the other dirty little tricks and secrets within Flash that help you accomplish that. So, and if anybody's wondering why the title screen is in Comic Sans, I do know better. I just wanted to get everybody in a bad mood right away. Okay? Now that that's accomplished, let's get started. Now today we're going to be coloring a true villain in the world of Flash, Steve Jobs. If it were up to Steve here, we'd all be animating in HTML5, am I right? I don't think any of us want that. And I'd much rather color in Flash too, which is why you're all here. You know, if it were up to Steve, we'd just be sitting around giggling and laughing at all the photos and videos of our ludicrously boring family members. And I'd rather not do that. That's bullshit. You hear me, Steve? It's bullshit. But anyway, and by the way, can Apple make one decent fucking mouse in their entire company history? Just one? Do they have to keep getting worse every single time? Anyway, alright, enough of that. Back to the tutorial. Alright, to start out, well, first off, I did a quick sketch, and, I cover this in Volume 1, and I just worked it up as, cleaner line art on my second frame here. As you can see, I'll scroll down. I just use the onion skinning tool. I'll turn it on here. You can kind of slightly see the sketch and turn it off. That's pretty much how I work up my sketches to their final line work. I'll try to pick out a skin tone first. Let's see here. Let's see if I can fit it in the goddamn window. I'll tell you what, here, I'll just wing it. I'll just bring over the color palette. Whoops. Try to, I don't know, let's see here. Usually it's in the orangey brown section, and you just kind of turn up the lightness. You just want something kind of warm, I think. And, just fill that shit in. Who cares? I'm just going to go over some of this pretty quick and then move along. I'm going to fill in his teeth white. Alright, I'm going to fill in his hair gray. You can see there's usually little gaps. I'll usually just find some kind of obnoxious line color, cut it off, then because the line is always going to be like red or green. I'll always see it and know where to delete it. I'm pretty fast. I just kind of wing it here. As for his head, that's kind of got hair but kind of doesn't. I'll just kind of pick his skin tone for his forehead. Now here's an important little tip. See these little sliders here for RGB? I generally like to set them to HSB, which is I'll smooth this over. See here, you can click the upper right corner, change to HSB. Now what does that mean? That's hue, saturation, and brightness. That basically means you can change the hue, saturate and desaturate and oversaturate a color with the saturation slider, and brightness, which is pretty self-explanatory. I find that far more useful than individually changing the RGB tones by themselves. It seems kind of pointless to me, so I prefer this. Now again, I'll select the skin tone, It's not perfect. Sometimes I'll still manually mess with this a little bit. Like, I want to turn the saturation down, but I also want to make it a little darker, so I could also turn the brightness down at the same time. Whoops. I kind of want to color between the gray of his hair and his skin tone, so I'll just quickly draw a line in here, and you kind of want to make it look like he's got his thinning hair here, but don't make it too gray. Just want to. There you go. Whatever. All right. Tell you what, I'll color part of his turtleneck here just to get a little contrast going. I'll just make it dark gray. Now, typically, you just want to keep your coloring kind of fast and loose. Don't get all don't nitpick right away. Select everything. I'll just deselect my basic fills. I think that's, whoops, not all of them yet. Alright, good. Let's just make sure. Here, I'll just drag. Sometimes I drag the line off to make sure I got everything, and I did. I will Command G that. That's just group it. It's kind of like making a symbol, but it's not really putting it in the library. So I find grouping to be a very temporary and helpful solution. Now, here's where some people get into trouble. This is one thing kind of annoys me. Some people will decide to turn the color down maybe like 1% and start shading with that. That's for pussies. You don't want to color like a pussy, do ya? No. You want to keep it bold. Be brave, be bold. Pick a bold color. You don't want to just turn the brightness down too, because that will give you kind of like an ugly, oversaturated shade. So you'd turn it down, but then also turn the saturation down as well. And let's see here. I'm just gonna sample it. All right, we want something maybe just a little darker. All right, that's good. Maybe just turn it up just slightly. All right, good enough. Now you just want to treat the head sort of like a three-dimensional object. Say like an egg. The fucking zoom is like too far either way. I'm gonna adjust this. All right. Now that the lines are grouped, you can just color behind them and they won't be affected. So I'm just going to imagine the light source is coming in from the upper left. I'm just going to say fuck it and just draw a line across his entire face. You can of course be a little more careful than this when you're doing it, but just for the sake of example here, I'm going to be a little extreme. All right. All right. Now that that's done, just use your brain a little here. Think about it. All right, like the nose. The nose sticks out. So the far side of that would be shaded in. There might be a small part of the cheek that still sticks out that might have a little bit of light shining on it. Usually a dude's brows stick out a little bit, so you'd want to fully shade those in under his brows. Any kind of cheekbones might create a little bit of a shadow. Being pretty sloppy here, but you get the idea. Bags under the eyes, maybe a little bit. Inside the ear, a little bit. the guy's lip might stick out. Just kind of winging it. By the way, it's a little sloppy here because I usually draw directly on my Cintiq, but I'm drawing on my monitor here, so I'm not quite as precise as I usually am. I didn't feel like being hunched over the entire time drawing while I'm doing this tutorial, so my apologies. Let's see, under the nose. The nose will always cast a huge shadow, especially Jobs' beak nose. You might want to, whoops. You might want to shade the teeth a little bit that aren't in direct light. For hair, don't worry about individual strands. Just do like a quick zigzag motion. Most people get it. Details aren't that important when it comes to hair. Just kind of get the general shape. Do that a little bit in between his brows. Now, Steve Jobs has unusually sunken-in eyes, so you might even want to drop the color even just a little darker even, and fill in his eyes like so. Sometimes with this darker color, I will even, throw that in the ear canal a little bit to give a little more depth, as well as maybe, stick it on his neck so the head looks like it's sticking out from the neck a little bit more. And, anywhere where you think it might be appropriate, just kind of give a little more depth to the face. Now, as far as highlights go, I used to, do a lot of crazy highlights, but I think I've decided that, subdued highlights are better. So pick a color that's like a little lighter than the default skin tone. Maybe just stick a few dots on some surfaces that might, have a little bit of a shine to them. Usually the lip, the nose, the forehead, maybe a cheekbone. Yeah, that's about it. So there you go. It's pretty, I'll tell you what, I'll just make this hair a little darker. Pretty easy. Easy peasy, nice and easy. Oh yeah, the glasses. I did keep the glasses grouped as their own object from the beginning for this particular reason. Let's say you want to, fill in the lenses. Pick the color white, turn the alpha down. So now you got some lenses. If you want to give them a little shine, you can drag some lines across. I will actually just turn down the alpha between the line streaks. Now, if you don't feel like double-clicking every single line and deleting them like that, you can always go to the eraser tool, select one of these options here, erase lines. These all have their purpose. You can look them up. I'm not going to tell you what they are. Whoops, I picked the wrong one. Erase lines. All right. And ta-da! No more lines. Okay. Now, Steve got his cute little glasses on, and there we go. Here's a completed Steve Jobs with an arm that might look like a dick, but I assure you isn't one. Just a completely normal arm. Okay. Anyway, a few last tips for you aspiring Flash artists / illustrators out there. Gradients. I swear, don't use them. They're, you know how, oh my god. See how upset gradients get me? I can't even speak. If you want to use gradients to color, for the love of Christ, and I'm not even religious, be subtle. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen a decent illustration with some obnoxious gradient and it just completely ruined my week. Here, I'll show you real quick a nice subtle way of doing it. Here, I'll go back to my temporary Steve Jobs. Let's say we want to make his cheek a nice rosy color, right? Okay, well, some people, this is one way you could do it. Here, I'll just get rid of his highlight. You know, start out with a typical black and white gradient. Bring my color thing over here. Make the center of the gradient red. Turn it up to a nice pink. Oh, whoops, I totally fucked that up. Alright. Make the outer gradient color similar pink. Turn the alpha down. And group that. And now you have a nice rosy color that you could probably drop behind the lines and you'd have a nice rosy cheek color. One other way to do it is to drag that out, break it apart. I will typically just cut off part of his cheek with a line here. I will put the gradient the fill directly inside the face. Whoops. And then I will turn the outer gradient color to Steve's skin tone. I don't know. Sometimes the gradient, when you put a gradient on top of a drawing, sometimes it doesn't blend as well as it should. I think this is probably the best way to make a gradient blend into a drawing. And then you can still put a little highlight on there, like his cheek is nice and shiny or something. Okay? Okay, good. Alright, I should start wrapping this shit up, but I'll go over one last thing I run into when I'm doing an illustration in Flash, and that is how to universally adjust the colors on your illustration. Let's say you're overall happy with your colors, but say I want it a little brighter, a little darker. I want the saturation a little turned up a little bit, or maybe I want them a little redder. How do I go about that? Well, there's a few ways. The first thing you want to do is, don't even think about going in there manually adjusting with your fill tool, because there are easier ways. First thing you want to do is, here, I'll go to my finished Steve Jobs art with he has his arm that looks like a dick but isn't one. I will select him, F8, turn him into a movie clip. This will not work as a graphic. Let's say, I'd like to portray Steve as nice and sickly because he was in the hospital recently, and let's say I'm making a cartoon where he drops dead, because that's hilarious. People dying is hilarious. You want to go into your filters menu, adjust color. Say, what does a dying sick person look like? I'd like to take the color out of his skin, turn the saturation down, turn the brightness up, and voila, he is sick and dying. Good job. Now, this works fine if your art is going to be just in a Flash movie, but let's say, I would like to export it as high-resolution art and, print it out or do something with it, make a poster out of it. My sick Steve Jobs poster. I don't know why the fuck you would do that, but if you did, what can I do? I can just export it as a high resolution and I'm done. Well, not quite. I'm using Flash CS3 here, and I don't know if they've fixed this in CS5 or whatnot, but basically, if you try to export a movie clip art at a high resolution, well, it doesn't really come out too well. As you can see when you zoom in, it stays pixelated. Well, that's exactly what happens when you try to export it as well. It stays pixelated like this, and that sucks. So, what do? Well, this is going to require a little bit of labor, but I have a workaround. You're going to want to... Well, first, this is really funny, actually. You'd probably think, common sense, how would I select the colors of 6 Steve Jobs? Well, if you pick the color picker and you bring the color palette in, you'll see nothing happens. And I don't know if this is a Mac only thing or what, but check this weird shit out. You mouse over, you fill a color box, hold down. Now watch this. Watch this crazy shit. As you can see in the lower left there, it picks up every single color there is. And not only that, it will, if you drag it across your desktop like I'm doing, it will pick up every single color on your entire monitor screen, no matter where it is. That's pretty helpful when you're trying to, color pick for, when you're trying to build a color palette and whatnot. So anyway, I will go over Steve Jobs. I will just quickly... you can color pick them so they'll appear in the swatch box, or you can just pick them manually here and just kind of make a little color swatch on your own to the left of the drawing, which is what I normally do. And once you get all these picked, you can just take them, cut them, copy 6 Steve Jobs to a new frame, break them apart, paste your temporary color swatch, and you can just start going in and dropping in all his sickly colors. Now this will take a minute or two, but in the end you'll have art you can export at a higher resolution, and there will be no problems. Now, if you want to get really crazy, I took the liberty of tinting him bright red, but then I took the color swatches here. I'll see if I can do it right here. Anyway, I messed with this a while. I got him a nice obnoxious bright red color, picked those colors, and then I just ended up recoloring him completely with the light coming from underneath. I like how it lights up his arm there that looks like a dick but isn't one. And now he looks nice and evil, like the true villain he is. Flash is doomed. HTML5 will rule the Appleverse. I mean, come on now. And I will rule it with my dick arm. That is actually an arm and not a dick. Alright, fuck all this. Fuck you, Steve. Eat a bag of dicks, and I hope this tutorial at least helped a few people. If not, well, you can eat a bag of dicks too. And Steve, if you design a nice mouse for once, I will be forgiven. Alright, I'm out.